Okay, so you'll start with about a pound of clay, and your first job is going to be to roll it into a slab about the size of a thick pancake, not a thin pancake, not too thick of a pancake. And it's good just to kind of start out smashing your slab down first before you roll it, just to help get it a little bit more flat. And you want to make sure that you're doing it on a table that's not all red. This table has a little bit of red showing through, but not too much. Okay, so remember when you're rolling your slab, don't let the rolling pin go off the sides or it's going to get too thin. And you want to get as big as you can, a nice even thickness. This is pretty good. It's about half the size of my fingernail. That's perfect. And now I'm going to get my prototype and use the sides to start to cut out the exact same pieces. Okay, now is when you have to get organized. You want to take the pieces of your prototype and decide how to lay them out on your clay to use the most surface area possible without having to roll another slab. You will probably have to roll 3 or 4 slabs to get all your pieces cut out. I need 2 roof pieces, so maybe I'll line them up like that and make sure that none of my corners go off. And now I'll trace them and cut them out. So pick some sort of a tool. You can use a pencil, you can use a knife tool. Trace around each piece. And then find a knife tool, or you could use a wire tool, and cut out the pieces and set them aside. Okay, now you want to set these pieces aside, and if you want, you can kind of organize them like this and put your roof piece on top so you know that you have your roof pieces. Now you should cut out your sides and your base. When you've cut out all your pieces, this is the most important part. You're going to store them in an open Ziploc. Grab a bag from under the materials table, switch it out. Hi. Make sure you put your first name, your last initial, and then your day and period that you have art. Now this is the really important part. Take your pieces and separate them from your paper prototype. And now you're going to stack them, largest on the bottom, going to the smallest on the top. You may have to do 2 separate stacks. In between each piece, you have to set a paper towel. You can use 1 paper towel and fold it over, and then put another piece. And then put the next biggest. And put that on top. And then you're going to slide them into your bag so that they lay flat. They're not like falling on top of each other. They're just laying in there flat. And you're going to leave the bag open for next class. This will allow the clay to get more leather hard. Okay, I've got a couple more pieces like this, and I'm going to stack them directly on top of each other. And I'm going to slide them in. If you have paper towel in between your clay and the bag, it'll dry more evenly. Okay, and once all your pieces are in here, you leave your bag open and you go put it on the shelf. You also have to store your prototype back where it was before so that your other people in your group can use it, or you can use it again next class. Last step is to take all your extra clay, ball it back up, return it to the white clay bucket. Carefully remove your slab pieces from your bag and take the paper off them. They should be what's called leather hard. They should be a little bendable. Let's see if I can show you guys. It's bending a little bit, but it's actually really strong. If I bend it too hard, I'll actually break this. This is the perfect consistency for your walls. The next thing you want to do is organize your pieces. I've stacked mine with similar pairs, so I have my base in front here, my 2 roof, my 2 sides, and my front and back. If your walls are strong enough that they can stand up on their own without flapping over, you can start to add your windows and doors. You never want to cut your doors or windows too close to the edge. I would leave almost an inch of space. Then you can draw on the surface with a knife what you want to do. If you mess up, you can just take a finger with some water on it and erase your lines like this. Then you can use your knife tool, where are you, here, cut out your outlines, okay, like this. And then you use a sharp end to pop that clay out that you've just cut, like that. You can kind of smooth out the corners. Always looks better if you do that. Or you can go back in and remove any clay balls that are left over. So you want to do this on whatever faces of your house need windows or doors. So I'm going to do, this is kind of my front, I'm going to do my back pretty similar, and then I have my sides, which I'll probably do some more windows in. And my roof, I'm going to actually do a textured pattern, so I'll show you guys that. Now that I have my windows and doors carved out, I'm going to work on my roof. My two roof pieces are these square ones right here, and I found a stamp that's a smaller stamp. The bigger ones are going to probably not work. And I'm going to repeat a stamp pattern across my roof by kind of rolling it in to make kind of a cobblestone ceramic roof look. It's a lot more interesting than just a plain roof. And then it'll absorb the glaze in really neat ways, so it'll have kind of different colors going through it. If your clay is too hard, you can add a little bit of water with your finger on the top of it before you stamp so that it gets the stamp a little bit better. The other idea that you could do is you could keep some of these little pieces that you've popped out of your windows and you could add them on to your house later, like if you wanted to do a little awning over your door like that, or if you want to do a little balcony or a window box. These make really nice add-ons as long as you slip and score and put them on. I noticed when I added this texture stamp to my roof, it actually changed the shape of my roof. As I compressed the stamp, it made the clay bigger. You probably want to do this kind of thing with a roof or a piece that does not have to be an exact size. I'm not going to stamp my house because if I did, I'd be afraid that it would smush it in one direction and cause the shape to change. But I can definitely draw some texture and details into the surface of my house with the different tools, and I could do it now or later after I've constructed the house. So those are your options. I would stamp on the base and I would stamp on the roof, but I wouldn't stamp on the faces of the house. Now comes the actual assembly of the house. You're going to want to make sure you are grabbing the right side. So this will be my front, and I'm going to put that in the front here, and I'm just going to kind of push it down for right now into the base. And then I'm going to grab my side. When I put these together, I don't want to butt them together like that, leaving any gaps. I want to put them one in front of the other, like this, okay? Now I know that they line up, and the next thing I'm going to do is I need to slip and score both sides. So I know that they overlap by a small amount, so I'm going to scratch my surface all the way down the side. If you don't scratch deep enough, it's not going to count. A lot of you guys on your bowls, we're not scratching enough, not creating enough of a gouge into the surface for it to stick. Then I'm going to do my other scratching on this side of my front, because that's where the two sides are going to go together. Make sure you have some slip ready, because that's going to be your next step, is to put slip on both sides. Okay, I got some gooey slip here. I'm going to run it down both sides that I've scored here. Here's my other one. Okay. And now I'm going to put them together, and this is where I really have to make sure no one's bumping my table. I'm going to set them back on here. Okay. And I'm going to push them together. Not too hard, but enough that some of that slip squeezes out. Now, I'm not done. Technically, if we were doing the bowls, I would say that's good enough, but our last step is to create a little worm or a coil that we can put on the outside and hopefully inside of that seam to reinforce it. The other thing is make sure if you are going to attach your house to the base, which everybody should, that you slip and score the base. What I did is I set my base down, and then I outlined it using my knife tool where I need to slip and score. Now, I know I'm going to have to do two more sides, but for now, that's my outline, and I can go in and I can score in that area and also on the bottom of my house. In the future, I'm going to have to do this at the same time as my sides so that I can put it down and not have to take it apart again later. Okay, I have slipped and scored both the bottom of my house and my base, and now I can put that down and push it down into the surface of the base, and then I can add my coils to the seam to reinforce. Okay, so every time you attach a wall, you slip, you score, you push the wall together, and then you create a coil. In this case, my coil is like a little snake. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you should do it with pretty wet clay. And then you lay that coil right on the line of the seam that you made. I need a little bit more here. And you just can kind of put it in your hand and roll it out here, like that, just so it's almost like a little teeny worm. And then you put it over those seams, or those lines where the two pieces of clay connected. And then your last step is you want to smooth them out. The green plastic tool is one of the best ones to use. In this case, I have a wooden tool that's fairly similar, and I'm going to spread that coil out on both sides to reinforce that seam and blend those two pieces together. Your last step will be to take a wet finger and rub it up and down to completely erase that seam and make it smooth. You have to do this everywhere when you join two walls together, including the inside. The inside, I've already done here on mine. Let's see here. And I've joined every single corner on the inside over here. First slipping, then scoring, then rubbing in a coil, going from top to bottom. Here's where it's going to get a little bit hard. Now I have 4 sides built on my house, and it's going to be very difficult for me to get my hand in here to do coils on the inside part of this seam. So not only should you do the outside, you should also try to get to the inside. But on your last wall, that's going to be a little bit hard. And as long as you do nice coils on the outside seams, like right here and right here, your house should be strong enough. Okay, so now I have all 4 sides on my house. I have slipped and scored every seam, and then I've added a coil on top of the seams and smoothed that out to make my house really strong. It actually feels quite strong. So now I'm ready for my roof. When I look at my house from this vantage point, I'm going to be putting my roof on like this. The only thing I'm noticing is that I need to trim off some of this wall so that I can continue this nice diagonal line down so that there is not a gap in my roof. So I'm going to trim that down by taking one of my knife tools. Get this. There we go. And I'm going to draw a diagonal line right into the wall where I need to trim off. So I know that all the way down this wall I should cut off about a triangle worth of clay so that my roof is going to lay flat on that part of the house, on the top of the house. Okay, so let me try it. Okay, trim that side off. And actually I can kind of take my finger now and just smooth that out. Pretty soon I'll be slipping and scoring that surface. Let me get the other side now. Okay, I'm going to cut my angle here. I'm going to cut my angle here. This side doesn't need that much. And then I'll take my knife tool. Oh, there we go. And I will just try to carve into the side there so that that angle continues. Okay, that should be pretty good. Okay, so as is with all surfaces, you have to scratch or score and slip them before you put them together. I'm going to put this roof piece here, and then I'm going to trace around on the underneath side where it connects so that I have a square. And now I know that I score inside that square because that's where it'll be touching the surface of my house, my vertical walls. Alright, I added slip to all my surfaces, and I'm going to put this on now. Carefully push it into my vertical walls. Try to make sure that it is the same height on the top. And then I should go in and add coils along these cracks right here, those seams right there. Okay, one more time I'll show you the coil. I made a little worm out of really wet clay. I'm going to push it into that seam, all the way down the seam. And then my last step is to smooth that into the surface on both sides. Okay, so I have all the walls put together in my house, including the roof. Everything's been slipped and scored and then coiled together. And now's the part where I can add some decorations if I want. I can add some more texture. I could add some grass down here. I could try to add on a front door. Depending on how much time you have, some of these decorations you can add later with the glaze. But other ones you can add now if you have time with some of your extra pieces of clay. So here's my finished product, guys. I have some texturing on the windows and doors. I added a little window box right here. And I even poked a couple holes in it. I may stick some wire flowers down there later. I put some texturing on the bottom, add a little door. I could still definitely clean this up a little bit more, but it's good enough. And my last step will be to put my name on the bottom, scratch it in there, and then put it into a bag so that it can, a bag that's open so that it can start to dry but not too fast. I'll show you where the finished rack is. And when you put your piece on the finished rack, you're going to want to put a paper towel underneath it. Then you're going to set your house on top. And then you're going to cover your house with your baggie. Some baggies may be too small now, so you have to get a different plastic bag. Just make sure your baggie has your name on it, and then cover it like this over the top so that it's all the way around it, but it remains open. It should dry here for a day or two, maybe 3, until it's ready to go in the kiln.